Hey guys, it is finally here. Yes, finally Friday. Thank God. Welcome to the Fox 5 Live Zone. I'm your host, Guy Lambert. Let's get to it. Coming up on the show today, did you hear? Apparently the FBI now leaving the nation's capital. Well, that's what the word is. We'll chat about it during politics. Oh my gosh, more testimony with regard to Sean Diddy Combs, the sex crimes trial, including a surprise witness. We'll break it all down for you. And we're celebrating several local women who are now being honored and recognized by a national organization. Can't wait for that. All that and more coming up on the show today, but how about we kick it off with a little weather, shall we? Tucker Barnes joining us right here in the LZ.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Happy Friday.
Thank you, and happy Friday to you. Big plans?
I was about to be negative. I was going to say get the heck out of here, but no, just relax.
Okay. Sometimes those are the best weekends of all.
I tell you, and I really need one.
Right?
Yeah, it's been a long week.
Yeah, it has. Weather-wise, it might be a long afternoon. We'll have to watch for the potential for thunderstorms. We've seen a couple of showers break out just to the north here during the morning hours, and as we get into the afternoon, very humid out there. Heads up here, bad hair afternoon.
Yeah, it was sticky on the way in.
Yeah, there's a lot of water out there, and you know it's humid when you can literally see the haze. And we're doing one of those days. Storms are possible later today. Not everybody will get them, but heads up here that some of us could. That is a very brown and murky Potomac. Any idea why?
No.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
It is because of all the water that's been coming down the river from the mountains over the last couple of weeks. It stirs everything up. But remember, we had heavy rains here a few days ago?
Yeah.
Well, it's making its way down into the lower parts of the Potomac here, and so now we can really see it all churned up there. So
that's
the
why Appalachian Mountains? Did I have that right?
That's the Appalachian Mountains.
Oh,
yeah.
wow, okay.
Yeah, see, it all comes down. Headed, you know where it's headed, right?
That I don't.
Yeah, it's headed to our Chesapeake Bay.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'm learning something every day.
There you
Thanks,
go.
Tucker.
75. Sorry to do the heavy science on you. 75 Dallas. We're going to be in the 80s later this afternoon. Guy, fun fact for all of your viewers: we have not hit 90 in DC yet this year. We're going to come close today, however, upper 80s. So very warm. Maybe I'll call it a hot and sticky afternoon. That box you see there, that is a severe thunderstorm watch box, not for our immediate area, but across the bay. Eastern shore there, and then up towards Philly, where they're seeing stronger storms approaching. We could see more of that activity later this afternoon. So no guarantees you're going to get a big storm, but the ingredients are there for more storm activity in a very hot and muggy atmosphere later this afternoon. So we'll talk weekend forecast, and the good news is we're going to get all of the storm action out of the way later this afternoon, potentially a few storms tonight and early tomorrow morning with a cold front.
Okay.
And then we should clear it out tomorrow afternoon and be in for a beautiful end of the weekend. That is Severe Risk Friday, and we're under an elevated risk, all of the areas shaded in yellow, so that's all of us locally. Gusty winds, heavy rain. We all know the routine in the summer months when I know it's spring, but in the summer months when we get strong thunderstorms. Just be on the lookout. Great time, and I know you're going to tease it. Weather on the Go, the Fox Local app, or the Fox 5 weather app. They're all great tools. Hey, Saturday afternoon and Sunday look great.
All right. I cannot wait. Big plans this weekend. Brother's graduating from Georgetown, and then Sunday brunch with my mom.
Oh, he just said at the beginning he's going to be chilling all weekend. He's not. See, that's
well, I mean, that's still chill with regard to not working.
No, when I chill, I don't leave the couch.
I need to do that type of chilling. Hey guys, Tucker Barnes joining us right here on the Live Zone. You heard him say it. If you haven't already done so, please download the Fox Local app. That way you can take your weather on the go. All right, guys, some of the stories we're following for you this afternoon. A miracle in Montgomery County. A 2-year-old boy survived after, get this, falling 15 stories from a Silver Spring high-rise. That toddler fell from a balcony off the apartment yesterday afternoon. First responders say he landed in some bushes, luckily breaking his fall. He was rushed to the hospital and may have broken a limb, but otherwise appears to be okay. Police say there were adults in the apartment at the time of the fall. Our Bob Barnard will have more on this story later this afternoon. Well, a new report indicates increased immigration crackdowns now coming right here to the nation's capital. This after ICE confirms the arrest of 189 undocumented people last week. Officials say people who had never had any encounters with immigration officials before but are in the country illegally will get due process at a date with a judge, but are being detained in ICE facilities in the meantime. For those who have criminal histories, efforts are now underway to deport them. Homeland Security investigators issued notices of inspections to restaurants and businesses across D.C. throughout this operation as well, but no one was arrested as part of that enforcement. Employers were simply asked to provide I-9 forms, which prove people can work legally right here in the U.S. Well, switching gears to politics, President Trump now heading back to D.C. after finishing a trip to the Middle East with stops in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE that saw him front and center on the world stage. Meanwhile, back here in the U.S., a revolt from conservatives now threatening the chances of Trump's agenda moving ahead today on Capitol Hill as hardliners signal they may vote no in a key committee. Joining us to discuss this and so much more, our guy is back, Mr. Adam Mockler, Gen Z expert and political strategist right here on the Live Zone. Happy Friday, Adam. Good to see you.
Happy Friday. How you doing?
I'm good. Never a Friday I haven't met that I didn't love, because guess what's coming up next? The weekend. And I think you will celebrate that as well, as will our viewers. Hey, let's talk about the big story out of D.C. right now, Adam, and that happens to be FBI Director Kash Patel announcing earlier today that, well, the Bureau is leaving its longtime headquarters right here in the nation's capital, transferring some 1,500 employees to locations around the country. Now, he says the building is no longer safe. During his first term back in 2018, President Trump made it clear that he couldn't stand the building and would be glad to see it go. Apparently, Adam, the president now getting his way. What say you?
Yeah, there's a nuanced position to be taken here. Decentralization isn't inherently bad. We live in the age of decentralization and working from home. But you have to look at the intention. You have to look at the process behind it. When Trump is saying that this is an ugly building, and then Kash Patel seems to be trying to decentralize for politically motivated reasons, and then moving civil servants into specifically red states and red areas, it raises red flags about whether the decentralization is being used to improve efficiency or just shift the federal workforce in a place where the culture is more right-leaning. Now, if we look at the previous acts of this administration, I would wager it's the second one, trying to move the civil servants to places that aren't. But I mean, there's a reality where decentralization is fine.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see all of this unfold right before our very eyes. Quite honestly, this happened to be a surprise, not only to me, but, well, pretty much all of those who happen to be working within that building as well. Hey, speaking of the FBI, we now know that the Department of Homeland Security, get this, investigating a social media post by former FBI Director James Comey. Now, Comey posted a picture of seashells arranged to read 8647. Now, to some, 86 means to get rid of it, and of course, Donald Trump is the 47th president. The DHS Secretary, Kristi Noem, says her department now investigating, and, well, they're really looking at it as a potential assassination threat. Comey took down the post, saying he didn't realize anyone associated 86 with violence. I gotta tell you, it seems kind of fishy here.
I mean, listen, I think we can all agree that any threat of violence against anyone is unacceptable. I don't think that anybody should be even making jokes about that. But I don't know, unless James Comey is on some Kanye West-esque, like, manic episode, I think he just made a mistake and thought it meant, you know, impeach or get rid of out of office. I don't know if this dude would openly post political threats. But I mean, again, if it's a threat of violence, for sure, investigate it. I mean, yeah, investigate it either way. But we just need to be careful not to conflate political speech with criminal intent, especially when we have an administration that's probably a little bit more trigger happy than others.
Yeah, well said. It's really interesting to see that unfold. When I saw that, it had to do a double take, and to your point, perhaps it was just the rhetoric that was misunderstood. As we all know, Trump's Middle East trip has yielded, well, a list of deals, including a partnership with the UAE to build a massive AI data complex, a commitment from Saudi Arabia to invest some $600 billion in the U.S., and Qatar's agreement to buy U.S.-made Boeing planes. For the most part, it appears President Trump's trip to the Middle East was a success. Would you agree?
No, do not get distracted by the real issues at hand. A lot of these deals are complete fluff and are completely hollow. First of all, Trump got a $400 million jet right before he went to Qatar. Off the back of that, he cut this massive deal with Saudi Arabia. But remember, in 2017, Trump cut another deal with Saudi Arabia for $142 billion. It never manifested. It was never realized. Trump is being made look like, or they're making Trump look like a fool by having this transactional relationship where I don't know if he even realizes it's transactional. Like, they view him as this old patronage type leader where you can give him gifts and maybe they'll give you something in return. Now, to take a nuanced stance, yes, Trump is taking a lot of really good PR wins with all of these deals. I do like seeing these videos of him walking around on stage. I think that it's a win overall in PR, but I also think we have to look at the history and the context of his old deals. Remember, in 2017, he got this massive deal with Saudi Arabia, but do they actually deliver? Or do they know what game they're playing with Donald Trump and PR? That's the question to ask.
All right, well, hopefully we'll get an answer to that. Adam, will end with this, and that is, we know that as President Trump makes his way back here to the U.S., several Republicans are having issues with his mega bill. One of the many holdouts happens to, well, send a clear signal that they are not happy with that bill, and, well, all they can afford, they being the Republicans, is one person to vote nay. Do you think this thing is going to get passed?
I think it will, ultimately. I think that Trump will get everybody in line. But I think that a lot of the concerns are valid, especially when you look at some of the cuts being made and where that money is being allocated. It's definitely not good. And also, adding $4 trillion is not something that we want to see. But I think at the end of the day, it's going to pass. It's definitely going to be tight, though.
All right, well, yet again, as I always say, we'll have to wait and see. One thing's for sure, we can always see you, Mr. Adam. And how can one go about to do so?
You can see me on any social media platform, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Just look up Adam Mockler, M-O-C-K-L-E-R. Again, Adam Mockler on any social media platform, mainly YouTube.
All right, appreciate you coming on the show, as you always do on a Friday. Make it a great weekend, sir.
Thank you. You as well.
All right, guys, you know the deal. If it's happening, and it's happening right now, we're taking you there. In this case, you're looking at a rally underway outside the U.S. District Court for the District of Maryland, where a motion hearing in the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia will begin at 1 o'clock. Let's take a listen in.
For Kilmar. Now, my friends, we all know that this case is bigger than one man, right? This is about the entire immigrant community. What is happening, that's exactly right. But what is happening to Kilmar is all part of Trump and the administration's bigger strategy to erase black and brown people from this country and inch us closer and closer to white supremacy. And like the gentleman said, this case is beyond the immigrant community alone. This case is in defense of all of us. All of our guaranteed constitutional rights are under attack. This case impacts every single one of us here today. Todos somos Kilmar. Now, I want to end with a reminder. Remember that we are powerful. We, the people, are powerful. The Trump administration saw the community, the people, rallying for Kilmar's cause, for due process, for the Constitution, and they became afraid. They are so afraid of us, of our movement, that they launched an aggressive smear campaign against Kilmar, which continues to this day, and frankly, which we know will continue. But that's okay, because you know what? They should be afraid of us. They should be very afraid of us. Because we will continue watching, we will continue rallying, we will continue to show up, we will continue to demand justice, and we will continue fighting until Kilmar comes home to his family where he belongs. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. ¿Se puede? ¿Se puede? ¿Sí se puede? Sí se puede. 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 Now, it is my pleasure to recognize a few of our elected officials who are joining us in this fight for Kilmar and truly in this fight for our country. Councilmember Tom Denoga is here with us today. every day. There you go. Council member Walla Blagay is here with us today. Oh, she's behind me. Hey, sis. And we also have our wonderful Congressman Glenn Ivey, who is here today. Now, please help me welcome the Congressman to share a few words. Coming up, Congressman.
All right, guys, yet again, a rally taking place surrounding all things with regard to Kilmar, Abrego, Garcia. This is ahead of a motion hearing. We will continue to monitor this throughout the afternoon right here on the Live Zone. Well, if you shop at Walmart, you can expect to pay higher prices. Shoppers now reacting today to word from the CEO of Walmart, who says price increases are on the way for a wide range of products. The Walmart CEO blames President Trump's recently imposed tariffs and says it will only get worse. Joining us now to discuss this, we have business analyst Parag Amin back here on the Live Zone. Always good to see you, Parag. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Fantastic to see you, Guy.
All right, so did Walmart's announcement surprise you in any way, form, or fashion?
Not at all. Guy, at the end of the day, we all know that whenever these cost inputs increase, they're going to get passed on to us as the end consumers.
And so with that being said, does this mean we can really expect other, let's say, retailers to increase their prices as well?
Certainly, Guy. Look, at the end of the day, everybody looks at the leader, and Walmart is a leader when it comes to low cost. And the other retailers are going to look at Walmart and say, well, if Walmart is raising its prices, it gives us an excuse and a basis to be able to increase ours too.
So the million-dollar question for folks that happen to have small businesses, hey, I'm a small business owner. How will this affect me?
It's going to get harder for smaller business owners than big companies like Walmart. So Walmart is already making changes to its supply chain as a result of some of these tariffs. For example, it has negotiated with its suppliers to rebuild and retool some of the items that are being shipped in to account for things like tariffs on steel and aluminum, in addition to the separate tariffs on goods made in China and other countries. Whereas smaller retailers, mom and pop shops, don't have that kind of market power. They don't have the ability to dictate to suppliers how to change their products to be able to benefit them, unlike bigger companies like Walmart do.
All right, Parag, I can see behind you, and one thing I don't see happens to be a crystal ball. So I don't know if it's fair for me to ask you this, but I'll pose the question anyway, and that is, what is the end game solution with regard to these tariffs?
Well, Guy, President Trump is hoping that these tariffs result in people buying more domestically manufactured items so that it boosts domestic production and domestic purchasing. And ultimately, President Trump wants to see the United States on better footing compared to other countries. He wants to see the trade deficits decrease, meaning that he wants to see other countries buying more American-made goods, as well as Americans buying more American-made goods.
All right. Well, yet again, we'll have to wait and see. Parag Amin joining us right here on the Live Zone. Always good to see you, sir. Make it a great weekend.
Likewise, Guy.
All right. Well, one of the other big stories nationwide happens to surround Sean P. Diddy Combs. That trial continues today. Dawn Richard, a former member of Dan Diddy Kane, will reportedly testify. Richard filed a lawsuit last year against Combs, accusing him of assaulting and imprisoning her. The 41-year-old also says she witnessed Combs abuse his ex-girlfriend Cassie firsthand. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more, attorney Mr. Eric Faddis back here on the Live Zone. Yet another busy day in New York, Eric.
Very busy. Good to be with you.
All right, so let's jump into this. Here's what I know so far. Let's recap with regard to what's happened today. The judge started by telling the defense that he wants to have Cassie off the stand today and that the defense should finish its cross-examination before lunch. I would assume lunch has now occurred, and I guess the question is she still on the stand?
My understanding is that she is, and not only does cross-examination have to conclude, but after that, the prosecution gets a chance to have redirect examination, and they've stated, according to reports, that that could take an additional 4 hours. And so it's possible the judge could ask folks to stay late to try to conclude everything, as he wants to make sure Cassie does not have this child while she is still giving testimony on the stand.
Wow. We also know that the defense argued that they would like to show Cassie a video of Diddy on a hike in the woods talking to God. The goal? Well, the lawyers argue that they need to show Cassie the video because she testified that Combs never went to rehab while they were together. Any word as to whether or not that video was shown?
I'm not certain as to whether it's been shown. As you know, there are no cameras allowed in the courtroom. We're just getting reports after the fact. That being said, that's really what's called impeachment material. That goes to undermine Cassie's credibility and say that she was inaccurate on the stand when stating that he didn't go to rehab, when according to the defense, he did.
All right, so the prosecution will also have the opportunity, as you stated, to once again redirect questions to Cassie. Another thing, another legal analyst pointed out that, well, the defense has done a very good job in not attacking Cassie. In this case, just showing what she said versus what she said in the past. Would you agree with that? Is that something that you would do?
I totally agree. Based on reports I've heard, defense has approached this in a rather delicate and sensitive fashion, and they have to. Cassie is a sympathetic alleged victim here, and she is 8 months pregnant on the stand. My understanding is that instead of making her read texts that were graphic and arguably embarrassing, the defense attorney gave Cassie the option of saying, hey, do you want me to read these? So as to not to try to avoid any sort of further traumatization and to show the jury that they are not, going in guns a-blazing and trying to ruin Cassie in some fashion. They're trying to defend their client.
All right, well, let's talk about the other star witness. In this case, a former member of Danity Kane. We're talking about Dawn Richard. Obviously filed a lawsuit last year against Combs, accusing him of assaulting and imprisoning her. What exactly will she try to get across to, let's say, both the jury and the prosecution and combat whatever the defense has to say?
Abrego is a colorful character. She's all over social media. She is just loud and kind of in your face a little bit, somewhat, some might say. I think she's going to get up there and she has a documented hostility against Diddy, perhaps for a good reason. I think she's going to talk about what she has observed Diddy in terms of how he's treated Cassie and possibly mistreated her. I think that's going to be the thrust of her testimony. If the prosecution lets her get into too much of her own accusations, her own grievances against Diddy, that could be a potential legal issue on the back end, because those are not charged offenses against Diddy. Those would be what are called extrinsic or other acts. And Weinstein's conviction was overturned on a very similar basis. So the prosecution has to be careful with that.
All right, Eric, we'll end with this, and that is, I know you have about a minute left, and that is your biggest takeaway thus far from, let's say, both the prosecution and the defense.
From the prosecution, I think with Cassie's testimony, she has been compelling and engaging and has really been evocative in terms of the emotions that come up when talking about this harrowing account that she gives. On the other side, the defense has chipped away at some of those points the prosecution scored by highlighting text. For example, there's a text where Cassie says, "I'm always ready for a freak-off." That tends to indicate that this was consensual rather than coercion, and so the jury will have to parse that out.
Yeah, yet again, all eyes remain on that courthouse in New York City. Eric Faddis joining us right here on the Live Zone. Truly appreciate your time, Eric. Well, as details of the Diddy trial and other high-profile sexual assault cases come to light, many survivors of sexual trauma and abuse may find the news coverage triggering. The public conversation and, well, let's say around these cases can really resurface painful memories. That's where my next guest comes into play. Dr. Lakita D. Carter is a Baltimore-based licensed psychologist and trauma specialist. Today, she joins us right here to help those in need to help navigate those difficult emotions and conversations. And with that, I give you Dr. Carter. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And so obviously this is a very trying time for so many. I have to be honest with you, I did not think about that. And what I'm making reference to is just this conversation alone could be very triggering for those who have experienced some sort of abuse.
100%. So we see this all the time happen with survivors of trauma, whether it's sexual trauma or other types of trauma. Having it replayed over and over in the news actually serves to reactivate old wounds. They can start to experience flashbacks, heightened anxiety, difficulty sleeping, and even avoidance behaviors, not wanting to go out of the house, not wanting to socialize, all because of the the life that the story has taken on, and watching someone else go through something that maybe they went through, or watching someone go through something that they opted not to go through. If they did not report their rape or their sexual assault, they opted not to go through it, and it's likely, one of the reasons is likely because of what they're watching, the fear of the public scrutiny.
Let's talk about some of the strategies, per se, that someone comes to you and they're actually dealing with something like this. What strategy would you give him or her to actually make sure that they can see a light at the end of that tunnel?
Not that you said him or her, because men are sexually assaulted as well. So some of the strategies that you might use on your own, even before you come to a psychologist like me, is you want to limit your media exposure. The more you look, the less you see, right? So the more you look, the less you see details, and you just start to feel overwhelmed by the bigness of the story, right? And the fact that it's everywhere. And at this point, you can't open your social media feeds, any of them, without seeing this story over and over and over again. So one practical strategy is to limit your social media exposure. Be intentional about when you consume news and what type of news you consume. Also, you can use grounding techniques like mindfulness and deep breathing, and even physical exercises to help you stay grounded and help you stay sort of even keel amongst all of the ups and downs of the story.
Yeah,
And then, of course, you want to seek therapy. If what you're trying is not working for you and you're still experiencing symptoms, then certainly you want to seek psychotherapy.
Well said. One of the things that I immediately wanted to do once I discovered this and having this platform was make sure we bring you on the show so that we can bring more awareness. That's what I did. But what if I happen to be a friend, family member? How can I support that person that actually experienced, yet again, abuse?
Okay, number one, it's been said repeatedly, so you're gonna use it here. We listen and we don't judge. We don't ask questions like, well, why didn't you just get up and leave? Because the truth is, the survivor was smart enough to consider that, and they opted not to do that, probably because there was a threat to their life. And the research shows that the moment that you leave, the moment that you decide to leave, that moment and the few weeks and months after leaving is the most dangerous time for a survivor of assault. And we saw that with Cassie. We saw the elevator video, right? She was attempting to leave. So if you have any questions about why someone didn't leave, I want you to refer to that video, as graphic as it is. That's why people don't leave. Sexual assault survivors and other assault survivors do not leave. Intimate partner violence survivors, they don't leave because it's incredibly dangerous. And in fact, giving someone advice to leave could be giving them a very dangerous piece of advice, right? A life and death piece of advice. Also, validate feelings. Like, this must have been awful for you. Try not to put yourself in the situation, because there's no way you can. You're a different person. You have a different history with trauma, and therefore you can't really relate. What you can say is, this must have been so awful. I'm so sorry this happened to you. Tell me more. Open yourself up, be curious. Even if you do have questions like, why didn't you do this or why didn't you do that? When a survivor is giving you their story, is sharing their story with you, it is not the time for an interrogation. If they decide to report, they will have plenty of that.
Dr. Carter, I got literally about a minute left, and you brought up Cassie. Now, I really wanted to pose this question because we know that this court case has really nothing to do, if you will, with regard to what was illegal that took place or what he's being tried for, he being Diddy, surrounding abuse. It has everything to do with consent. But we all know abuse should not be accepted. And I'm hoping to get a comment from you or your take on the fact that, in essence, it's not the abuse that we can focus on with regard as to whether or not he was guilty. The defense is saying, hey, that's what has happened. And so with that being said, I want to make sure that's not swept under the rug.
Yeah, so consent is major. In the 80s and 90s, we used to say no means no. And now the consent mantra is only yes means yes. So you need a clear, sober yes under a person's own power. If they are sleeping, if they are high, if they are drunk, the assumption is no. The assumption is not because they said nothing or because they gave you a head nod or even a mumble. You want someone to be sober in their response to you about whether you can proceed in any sexual experience.
All right, Dr. Carter, folks that want to find out more information about you, how would one go about to do so?
Sure. I offer mental health education on my Instagram page nearly every day. You can follow me at Dr. Lakita, DRLAKEITA, at Dr. Lakita.
Also known as Dr. L. Always good to see you.
Dr. L.
Thank you so much for
Thank you
coming
for
on the
having
show.
me.
You're welcome. All right, guys, we'll take our first break, and we'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Well, if you happen to be a sports fan, a Washington sports fan at that, bah humbug happens to be the world. Why? Well, the Capitals now out of the playoffs. The season is over, and as we hear from our very own Josh Rosenthal, a lot of fans aren't too happy as well.
Put simply, this is just not the way anybody thought this season was going to end. Certainly not the way anybody wanted this season to end. Here we are, Capital One Concourse. You can see some really sad Caps fans filing out. They came into this game tonight, backs against the wall, down 3-1, and yet people we talked to here are still extremely confident. They felt like the Caps were going to win 3 in a row and prevent that from happening. In the end, it didn't happen, and this, I can tell you, extremely, extremely tough. In particular, because of the incredible season that the Caps had, winning or finishing first in their conference, and then, of course, the history that Ovi made, becoming the NHL's all-time leading goal scorer. Come on over here. I want to talk to Renee. Renee, you were just telling me how heartbroken you are right now.
I really am. I really am.
Elaborate.
Because of the record that Ovechkin set, I just thought that it was the year, and it's just, I'm disappointed, but I'm really happy too at the same time.
Why is that?
Well, all the records that he broke, and just, he's a fantastic player, and they're a fantastic team. That's, you know, I'm sorry they haven't gone all the way.
I think that's really good perspective. So many of these big moments we heard from people, it feels like 2018, it feels like 2018. In the end, it wasn't 2018. They didn't win the cup, and yet, like you said, there were some really amazing moments this season.
There really was amazing moments, and I'm just so happy they came this far, really. And I'm happy to be here, truly.
As are we.
Truly.
Thank you for talking to us, Renee. Thank you for watching. We appreciate it. Have a great night. The hope was that we were going to be headed to Game 6 in Carolina. It's not going to happen. Instead, these wonderful fans, thank you for watching. Instead, these wonderful fans and including Renee, they're going home tonight, and they're thinking about what could have been. There's always next year, somebody just said. Back to you.
Hey, that's what I was going to say. There's always next year. Of course, I can't wait till next year to yet again watch the Washington Capitals. Hey, speaking of watching, what are you going to watch this weekend? Well, we got a couple of ideas for you. Producer Chris joins us next with What to Watch right here on the Live Zone. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone on a Feel Good Friday. Producer Chris joining us with What to Watch. But before we get to that, correct me if I'm wrong, congratulations in order? Should I say that?
What did I do?
Okay, never mind.
Okay.
So anyway, congratulations yet again for telling us what to watch.
I will tell you what to watch because we have a lot this weekend. Obviously, things are heating up outside as we inch closer to summer. Things heating up on the small screen as well. I always like to start locally when I can, but this time I'm saving it for the end, okay? So hang tight, but we're gonna start in the Windy City. Chicago's made a lot of headlines recently. As you know, we've got a new pope from there.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams, the quarterback for the Bears, made a few headlines himself about his relationship for the city. We can talk about that offline for hours. But the new season of The Chi is out today. This is season 7, the first episode out now, streaming on Paramount Plus with Showtime. That is key. If you're not familiar with the show, it tells the story of the lives of a group of interconnected people on the south side of the city, all kind of united by one coincidence. This is from the mind of Lena Waithe. This is getting comparisons to The Wire.
Really?
Which is high praise if you know The Wire. It was one of my favorite shows of all time. Season 7, premiere out now, drops week to week after that.
So if this is season 7, what about 6 and before? Would still compare
Paramount
to The
Plus.
Wire?
Oh yeah, I mean just the world building,
Really?
the focus, the way different characters all kind of tie together. Yeah, so that's part of what is drawing those comparisons. The women take center stage, front and center for season 7.
All right, well, gonna watch that. That's a definite.
All right, so next up, we're gonna go over to HBO Max, go, HBO, whatever the heck it's called now. We're also going back in time to the 1970s, and if you're a fan of the show Lost, this might be right up your alley because it is from the same creator, J.J. Abrams, and it stars one of the original Lost stars. His name is Josh Holloway. That name may ring a bell, but the face, you may not have seen him for a little while because he's been out of the spotlight for about 7 years now. However, he's back front and center. This, like I said, set in the 1970s, and it tells the story of a getaway driver who teams up with the first female black FBI agent to take down a crime kingpin in the Southwest. First episode streaming now on Max. The rest of these drop week to week as well. So not necessarily that desert island intrigue that came with Lost, but I think it'll still scratch the itch for a lot
What
of
an
fans.
interesting plot.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Kudos going out to the writers.
All right. Next up on Apple TV Plus, we have Murderbot. This stars Alexander Skarsgård. It's based on the novels of the same name. Then we've got season 4 of Welcome to Wrexham. This will scratch the itch for fans of docuseries and sports combined. If you're not familiar, this is the story of Hollywood celebrities, Rob McElhenney from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Ryan Reynolds, who you know from Deadpool. They teamed up and they bought a Welsh soccer team. And this follows their quest, the team's quest for promotion through, up to like the Premier League. That's what they're trying to do. They started from the bottom. You know the Drake song. I will just say they have invested a ton of money and they have gotten a lot in return. Also, it tells the story of the town the team plays in, which is Wrexham, and the country of Wales, kind of how these Hollywood outsiders came in, how they're treated as a result, and what they've managed to accomplish with a huge influx of cash.
Wow.
Money talks. I'll just say that. I won't spoil anything if you're not following along for some of these English Premier League and below soccer teams. You can catch the first episode of that streaming on Hulu. They air weekly on FX. Next up, we've got one of my favorites that I am so excited about because I love reality TV trash.
That you do.
We're talking about The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. This is season 2. And the fact that season 2 exists means we can definitively say right here, right now, that Mom Talk has survived. If you're not familiar with Mom Talk, this is what made these women famous in the first place. On TikTok, what made them famous and got them their own reality show was the soft swinging scandal. Season 1 promised to dive into what went down when the cameras were not rolling. However, we were only teased with it. They promised that season 2, they're going to dive a little more deeply into what went down, the issues it caused in the friends group, and more. You can check out all 10 episodes, I believe, 10 episodes, streaming now on Hulu.
Why do I have a feeling you're going to watch all 10?
Because I watched all of the first season, and it is fast. There are so many fascinating things about this show, this group of people, the way their religion plays into all of it.
Wow.
And if you started hearing about dirty sodas because Papa John's just launched their own to tie in with the premiere of this show, you have them to thank for it. All right, over on Netflix, we have season 4 of Love, Death, and Robots. This is an animated anthology series. Think like Black Mirror. I've never seen it, but people seem to like it. Then we've got Bad Thoughts. This is a comedy series from Tom Segura, and they literally describe it as pushing the boundaries of decency. So probably for adults only. Then we've got Overcompensating over on Prime Video. This is about a closeted former football player who befriends an outsider who's desperate to fit in and kind of how he guides him on his way. And then I promised that I would bring it back home. We've got Deaf President Now. This is a documentary. It's on Apple TV Plus, and it tells the story, the real-life story of the 1988 week-long protests at Gallaudet University.
Oh, wow.
The students protested because the Board of Trustees appointed a hearing president over several qualified deaf presidents. And the students were not going to stand for that. They protested for a week. This happened back in 1988, if I didn't mention that. It's directed by a former Gallaudet student who you may know and remember because he was also a winner of America's Next Top Model and Dancing with the Stars. His name is Niall DeMarco. He has been on our show several times. He directed this along with another guy, also a former student. So telling that local story, telling that story that affects so many students on that campus, and coming from an alumni of the university. This looks very, very good.
Interesting, yeah. All right, well, as usual, so much to watch, so little time.
I know.
I already know yet again what you're going to be watching, though, my
Secret
friend.
Lives of Mormon Wives. As soon as that song from Sam Smith, it's called Unholy, plays over the opening, oh man.
You can tell this guy's excited.
Cannot wait. You know I love my reality trash.
Producer Chris with What to Watch.
Happy Friday.
Right here on the Live Zone. We'll take a quick break, guys. We'll be right back. right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. So did you hear? WorldPride gets underway starting tomorrow right here in the nation's capital. You see, WorldPride serves as a powerful rally to unite voices in support of the LGBTQI+ movement. Now, monies raised from the event will benefit the Rainbow Railroad, an organization that helps the LGBTQI+ people escape persecution. The event spearheaded by none other than Exact Events, a global event management company. Joining us to tell us everything that's to be expected is Mr. Damian Gillard, co-founder of Exact Events, joining us right here on the Live Zone. Damian, good to see you, sir. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
I got to tell you, this is
Great
truly
to be
exciting. Yet again, this is the ultimate goal of the organization, and that is to bring more awareness to the cause. Do tell, sir.
Yes, definitely. So we partner with Rainbow Railroad because really it's about bringing our community together. And what they do is, like you said, they try to help people that get persecuted for being gay, if it's illegal in their state or country. So what we do is a percentage of our tickets from our events go to Rainbow Railroad to help with their company and to help people that are in jeopardy of their lives and are in danger. So we try to help them seek shelter.
With that being said, I'm hoping you could describe, if you will, some of the persecution that one has faced throughout the past. Obviously, yet again, you all are trying to bring more awareness to this issue and shine a light on something that happens time and time again.
Yes, so pretty much, let's say in Nigeria, it's illegal to be gay. So a lot of people that we know, I know a lot of my friends personally have had to escape from Nigeria due to the fact that it's illegal to be gay. So Rainbow Railroad really works with a lot of countries where it's illegal to be gay. And we have a lot of people that have fled from their countries to the U.S. here and just to seek shelter because their lives were in danger.
Well,
and it's really unfortunate.
Yeah, well, by far, and that's exactly why we wanted to shine a light on this. But not only that, but you all not only talk the talk, but walk the walk. And what I mean by that is that you utilize your network as well. Do tell.
Yes, so we're having a event on May 25th, and it's for WorldPride in DC from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. and a portion of our tickets will go to Rainbow Railroad. So each ticket that a person purchases, a portion of that ticket goes to the proceeds to Rainbow Railroad. And we've been doing this now since 2017. We've hit the road. We're pretty much on a tour right now where we hit almost maybe about 10 to 15 cities this summer alone to celebrate WorldPride.
Damian, folks that want to find out more information, how would one go about to do so?
They can follow me on Instagram at Dame-BK, or they can follow us at Exact Events on Instagram with a Z.
Easy as 1, 2, 3. Truly appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
Have a great one. Okay.
All right, guys. Well, by a show of hands, how many of you are familiar with COMTO? You see, it's a North America's premier industry organization ensuring transportation services for all. Dare I say, they are now getting set for the 14th annual Celebrating Women Who Move the Nation Awards Breakfast. Here to tell us all about it is, hey, I know you, Delia Gonzalez back here on the Live Zone. Good to see you, my friend. Welcome to the show.
It is great to see you, friend. Guy, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having us. We are super excited for our event that's happening next week in DC.
Yeah, yet again, set to get underway May 21st. It's at the Smithsonian Art Museum National Portrait Gallery. When I say that, I have to put my pinky in the air. That's a high sedity affair. I want you to really, if you will, talk about these amazing women that you all are going to be celebrating in a rather unique way.
You know, I loved when you introed us and said, raise your hand if you've heard of COMTO. We are an amazing organization that is kind of a hidden gem in the transportation industry, really well known. We advocate for untapped talent to get opportunities in the business, and we try to uplift communities to make sure they're at the center of these transportation projects. that sometimes cut right through their neighborhoods. And so we're really advocating for people, for opportunities, and a better transportation system. So going back to this event, it's the 14th annual. I like to call it the Emmys of transportation. I know the nominations just came out yesterday. This is a big deal. We have 10 women who are at the top of their game in a male-dominated industry. We're talking CEOs, GM, senior vice presidents, and we give them a chance to receive their flowers in front of 500 of their peers, transportation leaders from across the country. It's a big deal. It's a premier event. It's kind of the go-to event in the industry, and we sell out the portrait gallery every year. So 500 plus folks from around the country are coming to celebrate these women.
Wow, this is truly amazing. I'm just so happy that you are a part of this and are really shining a light on these amazing women that really deserve to be recognized unlike any other. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but all of this began somewhat 55 years ago on the campus of Howard University. Is that correct?
That's right. COMTO was started in 1971 right here in the District of Columbia. Three folks, two gentlemen and a woman, who started this organization to really elevate and connect people to opportunities. You know, we have talented folks in the pipeline who deserve seats at the table. And that's why COMTO was created, to make sure this happened. So we started out really humble in 1971, and now we have 40 chapters across North America, including Toronto. And so we have a wide range of folks representing all modes of transportation. It's a great network where everyone is supporting each other and lifting up best practices, and we're advocating for each other and our communities.
Delia, I got about 2 minutes left, and I know you can't highlight everyone that you all will recognize and honor, but I'm hoping you could, well, just give us a brief description of some of the honorees.
Well, the first and foremost honoree is a DC resident. She works here for WMATA. Yatunde Olamide is the Chief Financial Officer of WMATA. She has been a finance professional for over 25 years. We're elevating her and celebrating her today. She also serves on the board of the Conference of Minority Transportation Officials. We have a senior vice president coming from Chicago who has done phenomenal work. We have a CEO from Cap Metro in Dallas, Texas. She started out, get this guy, in 1994 as a bus driver working part-time, and now she's the CEO of that transit agency. So it's inspirational stories like that, women who have really, you know, put their heads down and did the hard work to dominate in this field and really lift people up coming up behind them. And that's really the inspiration behind it all. We can elevate, but it's really about what we do for the folks coming up behind us.
All right, Delia, I'm going to embarrass you somewhat, but there's only one person missing, and that happens to be YOU. Hopefully one day you too will be recognized in a major way for all you do. Yet again, it is the 14th annual Celebrating Women Who Move the Nation Awards Breakfast, set to get underway May 21st at the Smithsonian Art Museum and National Portrait Gallery. And we've been speaking with my very good friend, Delia Gonzalez, Vice President, External Affairs for COMTO, joining us right here on the Live Zone. Always good to see you.
Great to see you, Guy. Take care.
Will
Talk
do.
to you soon.
All right, guys. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Getting the shot the best I can. Literally just out here and Cassie and other creators, I ain't got a house. We are out here. I don't know if you guys saw that. Look how wet this shirt is. Like that. Right? If he wasn't wearing an undershirt, you would see a lot more. It was not available. I feel so. Yeah, it would not be available for TikTok. Yeah, it would not be good for TikTok. They'd be like, is that? Oh my God. And then I said, what's your cat at? Whoa. Y'all made me. Like, oh. Damn.
So you already follow me. When I post it, I'm gonna give you the credits.
Yeah, thank you.
Come on, I know how this goes.
Yeah, we gotta help each other out.
She's not gonna do that. She's gonna take it in for and say,
What's your tag again?
Big Mike 626.
Big Mike 626.
Yeah, especially catch up my jacuzzi stone content. Please check it out. Yes. No, I just told your homegirl she getting the credit.
I know, right?
Credit too. I got you.
Yeah, so we're.
If I can get my phone on, if somebody can let me, get a little part of the battery,
Yeah.
Oh, I know you got a battery pack. If she got one, I know you got one.
Yeah, I will be posting it tonight. We got battery pack, extra phone, their faces and what they look like coming out.
Will juice me up a little bit? Can I get it?
We are. So I appreciate you guys so much.
Look.
We're trying to help everybody.
Look.
And I'll make sure that I'm posting
the light is
there.
on.
I gotta figure out how to do it, but I will post it for that as well. And so a lot of people did miss it because I had to turn off my TikTok that it was lagging real bad.
Did you get it?
So
You got them coming out?
It was
Good job.
literally, like, I think only a few hundred people were in.
I ain't mean to come off loud earlier.
I heard he was running. I was watching.
There was a bonehead thing to do with all these cameras out here. You don't know who's taking pictures of you. Yeah.
For the sun, I literally got a face shot coming out. Not a lot of reporters.
Yeah, I got you.
I try to fly under the radar.
I got you. That's the only way.
I got this is my job.
Yeah.
So there's not too much. Like no, most guys with the umbrella, the camera, all the cameramen are moving around.
All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. We are following a developing story out of Seat Pleasant, Maryland, where police are now responding to an active shooting and barricade situation that happening in the 6400 block of Gregg Street, yet again in Seat Pleasant, Maryland. Now, according to police, and details are sketchy at this time, officers are there and have declared a barricade after reports of a shooting in that area. Now, authorities now urging residents and commuters to avoid that area as the situation remains ongoing. I must stress yet again, the details are still sketchy, still no word on potential victims or suspects. That has not been released as yet. We do have a reporter en route and hope to get a live report as soon as that reporter arrives. Once again, a barricade situation happening in Seat Pleasant, Maryland. Well, it's that time of the year again, time for graduations galore. That was the case for my next guest. His name, Mr. Jordan Peebles. You see, he just graduated from Howard University School of Divinity. HU, you know. But wait, there's more. Did I mention Mr. Peebles is 26 years of age, has, count 'em, 5 degrees, 2 bachelors, 2 masters, and 1 PhD. That's just the tip of the iceberg. You see, Mr. Peebles is the top student with the best dissertation out of the history of the School of Divinity. I believe that dissertation has now been turned into a book. Dear God, I could read his accolades all day, but why let me do it? He joins us now right here on the Live Zone. Mr. Peebles, congratulations. Good to see you.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
I got to tell you, I don't think I've ever met someone as smart as you before. Hopefully some of that could rub off onto me, sir. Congratulations. This is just so awesome. And we wanted to bring you on, first of all, to recognize and celebrate and let folks know that, well, how amazing of a job that you have done. But also talk about what's next, because there's so much turmoil, if you will, facing recent graduates. But we'll get to that in a second. Let's talk about how you got here. At what point did you say, I want this degree, that degree, and every degree under the sun?
So, first of all, like I said, thank you for having me on here. It is such a pleasure and an honor. As somebody who has had a diverse experience in the educational field, one of the things that I realized is my academic performance relied on how the professors viewed me as a student and how the academic environment nurtured me. I thought that when I was in environments that didn't nurture me well, I didn't thrive. But when I went to institutions like the Howard University School of Divinity, my intellectual curiosity sparked in a way that really helped me launch what I did in my dissertation, which is called the liberation of learning. So when you have an environment that invests in students, I think we can provide and really push students who can go into society and become really good humans and culturally and sociopolitically responsible.
Well, as they say, the proof is in the pudding. And what I mean by that is, correct me if I'm wrong, but you are the youngest grad ever of the School of Divinity. Is that correct?
So ironically, last year, the School of Divinity celebrated Anne-Marie Fowler, and she was the oldest student to graduate from the School of Divinity at 83 years old. So after I finished my defense this year, my advisor, Dr. Harold Trullier, and my advisor, Dr. Barbara Fears, they talked to each other for a second and said, last year we celebrated the oldest student, so this year we get to celebrate the youngest student. So I want to go ahead and fact check it, but it seems as so.
That is just so awesome, man. I'm just so proud of what you've been able to do thus far. Let's talk about your dissertation yet again, because it's so funny. Between my friends and I, we tease each other all the time. Say, dear God, you took so long to get here. What were you doing? Writing a dissertation? Well, in your case, that's exactly what you did. But you heard me make mention of it earlier. You did so well, sir, that it was, in essence, turned into a book. At what point did you realize that?
So I realized it probably toward the end of my research when I started doing my program output. My advisors, and I'm sorry, I think I'm hearing an echo, but my advisors, Dr. Trullier, Dr. Fears, and Dr. Courtwright Davis, they had told me that your research is good, but you need to have a product after this program. So when I started forming my program, I thought that this should be something that's shared, because one of the main things that I argue in my book, Liberation of Learning, is the fact that schools are failing in developing critically conscious students. I think that what is going on is the students are not necessarily becoming critical thinkers, but instead they're just adopting the consciousness of their teachers. So if we can produce students that are able to critically think, I think we'll be able to produce citizens that can look at tariffs and critically think about how they feel about them. When they look at immigration policy, they can critically think about how they feel about these things, and so forth and so on.
I should state that, full disclosure, your father happens to be Bishop Peebles. And a lot of folks are saying, hey, I remember that name. Why? Well, he was on the air with me when the new Pope happened to be announced. And so I'm curious, do you plan on following in your father's footsteps in the word of ministry, if you will?
Right now, I am planning on developing Christian education programs, and wherever that leads me is where I'll let God lead me.
All right, and we'll end with this, and that is a new Wallet Hub study found that Atlanta is the best place for new grads to start a job. DC, well, didn't make the top 10. And so with that being said, I'm curious, do you plan to, as LeBron says, take his talents or take your talents to Atlanta? And not only you, but your colleagues, what are they saying with regard to getting a job now that they've finished school?
Right. So a lot of my colleagues, we look at the research in the field, and the National Bureau for Economic Research defines good jobs as one, something that has a full-time job. And then number two, something that gives you good pay. Like you said, DC, it does not rank very well in those areas. But for people who are graduating from college and are looking to go into the professional world, there are three areas that you can really find a good job. The National Bureau of Economic Research says, number one, you can go into information technology services. Number two, you can go into the professional world, so you can become a lawyer, you could become a business owner, you can go into the nonprofit sector. And then the last one is following in the footsteps of a business itself. So there are a lot of different sectors that you can go into, but like you said, you want to be very careful because the jobs and the volatility of jobs in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area is a little bit turbulent right now.
Well, you made mention of the word follow, and if I'm a betting man, I'm pretty sure a lot of folks will be following you sometime in the near future, sir. Congratulations. Yet again, we have been speaking with Mr. Jordan Peebles, a recent graduate of Howard University, the School of Divinity, 5 degrees in all. I mean, it's like you could have a ring on each finger. That's awesome, my friend. Congratulations. Continued success to you.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
You're welcome. All right, guys, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. So earlier this week, recording artist Maya had a chance to stop by the LZ. She has a brand new single out entitled Face to Face. Here is our conversation. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Oh my gosh, I think I'm about to faint. Hold on, let me collect myself. Ladies and gentlemen, Grammy Award winning, hometown hero, the songstress, yes, the one and only Maya, joining us right here on the Live Zone. Good to see you, Maya.
Good to see you.
How does that sound and how does that feel when you hear that?
It feels like a welcome home. I love it.
I'm thinking back to the year 1998, and I don't want to date ourselves here, but oh my gosh, you have been doing it
Right?
and doing it oh so well. That's almost 30 years ago.
Ooh,
Can
don't
you believe?
remind me.
Well, but
No,
I
it's a
say
blessing.
that. It truly is. But look at what you've been able to do throughout those 30 years.
I'm just getting started too, you know? I really am. I'm so excited about what's next. I'm in love with music still.
Yeah.
And it's just a blessing to be here and be supported and still doing what you love.
Yeah. It's amazing that Billboard dubbed you the top female artist of the 21st century. I mean, we should just drop the mic and go home after that.
I'm on a list of many.
But you're on that list.
Such an honor. Yes, it is.
Wow. What does that mean to you, though?
You know, you don't think about these things when you're just doing what you love to do. So
Yeah.
another nod or salute or acknowledgement is always a blessing. And of course, motivation to continue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're continuing in a major way. Of course, the brand new single, and oh my gosh, I love it. What are we face to face right now?
Right. Yeah, no pun intended.
So tell me all about it. How did this come to be?
Yeah, Face to Face is actually a part of one of my upcoming albums, and it is a nod, a salute, and homage to pioneers like the Isleys, Jammin' Lewis, SOS Band melodically, but it's very inspirational lyrically. It's all about the lyrics on this record, something that you can wake up to, pray to, clean your house to, and it's definitely a vibe. It's about confronting yourself and getting into who you are, what you resonate with, and pushing forward through faith, perseverance, resilience, all of those good things.
Yeah. It just amazes me that after all these years, and you are such a successful artist, there's that word inspiration. And I've always wondered, when you do this day in and day out, where does the inspiration come from?
People.
Really?
Yes, as us as artists, we often get maybe put on a pedestal and idolized, but it's really about being a servant at the end of the day for people and offering that connection. If you can inspire or uplift or be a positive light in someone else's life, it can make the world of a difference. And I am so blessed to have had conversations with some legends that have changed the landscape of my life, but also have teachers and mentors that have taken me to the side and forced discipline. You know, my dad is in the arts and still kicking with music as well. My mother is very artistic, and they've been very instrumental, but it means a lot to be a light in someone else's life, because there were people, and there still continue to be people, team members, etc., that are part of this operation and contributing to what you love to do, which is ultimately for your biggest inspiration, leading people to their truest form of self.
Okay, you're not going to like me for saying this, but I have to correct you, Maya. You made mention of a legend. That's what you are now. Do you realize that?
No, I don't look at myself that way, because there's still so much more work to do. It's very, very odd. You know, I grew up with Stevie Wonder playing in my household, Patti LaBelle, Stephanie Mills, and the list goes on. And I look at those pioneers as legends. And I'm still working toward my best self. And of course, I know, because I've recorded it, the best material of my life is on the way.
Wow.
Of course, growth is evident, as it should be. 25 years plus in the business, but there's so much more to accomplish outside of music as well. And it's all about people at the end of the day,
Well, you make people smile from ear to ear, day in and day out. You're going to do so when you hit the stage at the BET Awards. Excuse me.
Oh, I didn't know you knew.
Well, little birdie whispered in my ear. I did my research. How about that?
Oh my goodness.
Are you excited?
I'm so excited. You know, right here in Washington, D.C., my hometown, is where I actually got my first start at BET on Teen Summit. So to go back on their 25th anniversary of 106 in Park, but also I believe it's their 45th anniversary. Yes. Wow. I'm sure it's going to be a moment that takes my breath away. Full circle.
You made mention of hailing from right here in the nation's capital, which we all know, and so proud of you for doing so and representing us so well. So I figured we'd play a little game with 1 minute left, and that is your favorite things with regard to DC. Let's start with Mambo sauce or Old Bay? Which one?
Mambo sauce all day.
Oh, I love that. Okay, your favorite go-go band or go-go song? You don't have to pick a band.
That's hard.
All right, how about we just say sardines, pork, and beans?
Well, I'm vegan. So.
Oh, okay. And last but not least, your favorite DC landmark?
Oh, my favorite DC landmark, probably the Washington Capitol. I have baby pictures there.
Wow.
Yes, and it just takes me back to the days that my dad took me to the reflecting pool as well, in the mall. So many memories of DC when I was a child, but I actually have the pictures as proof.
Wow. So many memories she created, and new memories we can make now. Once again, the name of the single, Face to Face. You see it right there on your TV screen. Ladies and gentlemen, she truly is a legend. This is the one and only Maya joining us on the Live Zone. Fist bump. We'll take a quick break, guys. We'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Well, the sex trafficking trial of Sean Diddy Combs continues at this very moment in a Manhattan federal courtroom. Dawn Richard, a former member of Danity K, will reportedly testify as well. Richard filed a lawsuit last year against Combs, accusing him of assaulting and imprisoning her. The 41-year-old says she witnessed Combs abuse his ex-girlfriend Cassie firsthand. As part of their argument, well, they read explicit text messages between the two, and I'm referring to Cassie and Diddy. Today, that testimony continues on the stand for Cassie. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more is Mr. Brian Watkins, criminal defense attorney, right here on the Live Zone. Mr. Watkins, good to see you, sir, and welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
I got to tell you, there is just so much to cover and so little time to do so. Let's start with what has taken place thus far, and you can stop me at any point if I am incorrect. We'll start by the judge telling the defense earlier today that he wanted to have Cassie off the stand and that the defense should finish its cross-examination before lunch. First and foremost, do we know as to whether or not that took place, sir?
No, we don't. You know, the judge is going to protect witnesses. She is 8 months pregnant, but she is the prosecution's key witness, so the defense has to have a fair, sufficient time to cross-examine her.
So with regard to what was discussed today, according to my notes, we know that Cassie, and when I say what was discussed while she was cross-examined, made mention of physical abuse, spoke more on the freak-offs, and talked about receiving mental health treatment. Out of those three that I made mention of, what do you think would really strike the jury with regard to perhaps having compassion for what she had to say?
You know, I don't think any of them. You know, I mean, what she presented was a relationship. And if you ask Cosmopolitan magazine, 90% of women admit to doing things and basically catering to their partner's sexual fantasies and doing things they don't want to do. And she was in a 10-year relationship with him, and she admittedly catered to his sexual fantasies willingly. So I don't really see her being a victim in this case. I mean, this is not a real human trafficking case. There are real victims of human trafficking out there, and this is not one of them. You have to understand what human trafficking is, the definition of human trafficking. The definition of human trafficking is transporting someone to commit a commercial sex act. So what is a commercial sex act? A commercial sex act is any act where either party receives or gives anything of value. So we are all guilty of committing a commercial sex act on Valentine's Day. And every person who's been the best man at a wedding, who planned a bachelor party and had exotic dancers come to the party is a human trafficker. So this is a real misuse of the statute here. And I don't believe her testimony, I think it's going to sit well with the jury at all. She was a girlfriend. She catered to her boyfriend's sexual desires and needs willingly. And she was the victim of domestic violence, but he's not charged with domestic violence, nor is he charged with rape.
So, Mr. Watkins, I want you to expand on that, because I have said this time and time again, and I'm not taking either side, and that is, this is about consent. It's not about, quite honestly, what happened behind the bedroom and or the abuse that she faced. Is that correct?
Exactly. I mean, he could have been charged with domestic violence. She chose not to call the police and file domestic charges against him because she wanted to stay with him. She knew that would probably break them up. And that's the case for many victims of domestic violence. Domestic violence is a very, very, very common crime.
And so with that being said, we now know that she also showed a text during the cross-examination that stated, "I'm lost without you," unquote. "I need you." And they both actually text each other about dating other people. You, sir, are a criminal defense attorney. Is that exactly what you would have pressed as well?
Absolutely. You know, you understand, in every relationship, you know, the people do things for the partner that they don't want to do. And often, like I said, if you read Cosmopolitan magazine, they will document that women admit to catering to their partner's sexual fantasies, even though it's something that they don't want to do. That's common. And what was presented to the jury today is a dysfunctional, abusive relationship, but not human sex trafficking.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but we also know that I believe she is 9 months pregnant. And obviously you would think that that would play some type of role in the mind of a juror that happens to be seeing her on the stand being cross-examined yet again by the defense. What would you do, or what would you say in order to make sure that wouldn't hamper you with regard to getting across your point?
you know, clearly these events happened a long, long time ago. She's moved on with her life. She's married to another individual and you know, is pregnant. So I would not, you know, you can't treat her as a victim. If you treat her as a victim, then you're basically confirming the fact that she is a victim. I think the defense position in this is she's not a victim. They're in a relationship. They both coerce people to do things they don't want to do. They both cater to each other. They did that to maintain the relationship, and that's what it was, a relationship. Did it have acts of domestic violence? Yes, it did. But again, that's not what he's charged with. He's not charged with domestic violence, nor is he charged with rape.
All right, let's move on to former member of Danity Kane, none other than Dawn Richard, filed a lawsuit last year against Diddy, accusing him of assaulting and imprisoning her. What exactly is the prosecution looking to get across with having her on the stand?
I think they're trying to use that situation to show that he did use force. You know, the funny thing is they like to use the word coercion. You know, that's really not a crime. A crime is you can't use physical threats or violence to force someone to do anything. But when you talk about coercion, I mean, that's a very slippery slope. I mean, guys miss playoff games to go to baby showers. Was that done under coercion? I guess you could argue yes. You know, so what's a coercion in a relationship? People do things for their partners that they don't want to do in a relationship. And I don't know how they're going to get around those simple facts. Like, again, he's not charged with forcefully making someone have sex. That's called rape, and he's not charged with that.
Yet again, we know if he is found guilty on all counts, he faces life behind bars. With that being said, I know you don't have a crystal ball in front of you, but with what you have been made privy to and what you have seen and or heard thus far, how do you think it's looking for him? What do you think he will be charged or found guilty of, if anything?
You know, I haven't seen any evidence that suggests he's guilty of anything. You have to understand, having an orgy, completely legal. Having an open relationship, completely legal. Being a swinger, completely legal. Having baby oil, completely legal. There's no limit on the amount of baby oil you could have. There's no amount of limit on the type of sex that you could have. These are all consenting adults, and he hasn't been present. I have not seen any evidence that he's done anything that's illegal. Like, again, I did see the video in the elevator and at the hotel, but again, that's domestic violence that he's not charged with. So I have not seen any evidence to suggest he did any sort of human trafficking or, you know, potential commercial sex acts other than, you know, the normal acts that we all do. Like I said, we're all guilty of commercial sex acts on Valentine's Day because the definition of a commercial sex act is any sex act where any person receives or gives anything of value. That's very broad.
All right. Yet again, interesting commentary from Mr. Brian Watkins, criminal defense attorney, joining us right here on the Live Zone. I truly appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone, and it is time for a celebration unlike any other. Why? Because this amazing young lady is sitting right next to me, the Diva Chef, celebrating a birthday.
I am. Thank you so much.
Happy
You said it in your
birthday.
radio voice, too. Y'all remember me.
You know, I was just talking. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's just so funny. When you get to be my age, kind of like birthdays are like, yeah, I kind of want to go backwards, but I would say for you, you have always gone backwards. So.
I'm cracking up. I definitely look younger now than I did back then, and I feel like you need to embrace it, right? Because someone didn't wake up today, but I did.
That's so true.
Yeah.
All right. All positivity when it comes to the Diva Chef. Hey, we call this our Friday Talkers, and we're talking about some of the things you at home said, hey, Guy, we want you to talk about. Hence, here it goes. In this case, we're going to kick it off with what not to wear and or do and or be a part of as a result of being a guest at a wedding, Diva Chef. So apparently there's a new study that came out, and a lot of folks that are wedding guests, because it is wedding season, they're doing a lot of wrong things. We'll kick it off with, please, always bring the couple a gift.
Oh, yeah, that goes without saying.
I couldn't even finish it.
I'm so shocked and ashamed at people for having to be told that. You don't just go to a wedding and not bring a gift. That's so tacky.
Okay, so playing devil's advocate here. What if I'm not like really understanding what it is what you want, and so I don't know what to get you?
Get a gift card.
That's a good point.
Get a card with some money in it. Let
That's an
them
even
pick
better
their
point.
gift.
I've said this before, and that is with a lot of weddings, I'm typically hosting them. I'm hired to do just that, and so I just show up. Hey, that's my gift.
Yeah, well, host is a little different because you're part of the, ceremony.
Yeah.
But going to someone's wedding, you don't show up without a gift.
Yeah, I guess that's
You won't
called.
be invited again, probably.
And it's tacky.
And very.
We don't like
And
that.
we track who don't be coming with a gift. Stop playing.
How about follow the dress code on the invitation? How important is that?
Extremely important. You
And
can't
why?
show up to a wedding in white.
Ah, that's a good point.
And if someone is going for a certain aesthetic and they want everyone to wear black and they wear white and it's a black and white joint, you can't show up in pink.
Yeah. My thing is, those casual weddings, I never know what casual dress is, and so I tend to
that's
always
tough.
overdress.
That's tough.
Yeah. All right. Well, next on the list, don't overdo it at the open bar. Kind of guilty.
Do you?
Well, one time I had, wow, I'm kind of buzzing here a little bit. Let me
What's
sit
your
down.
drink of choice?
Scotch.
Okay,
Macallan.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't overdo it at the wedding, falling out drunk. That's embarrassing. You won't remember, but they will.
That's true. And yet again. Well, I hope I don't get an invite again because I hope they stay married forever. So we don't want that to happen. Hey, number 2 on the list, skipping the ceremony altogether. If I invite you, you better show up, right?
Yeah, I mean, life happens though. You don't want to show up and you're sick or have COVID.
That is
so
a good
I think
point.
that's a little.
All right. Well, I mean, that's when you pick up
Extra.
the phone and give them a call and say,
Yeah,
hey, I'm
and
kind
still
of
send
sick.
a gift.
Yeah, all right. And taking the top spot, and I'm really curious to what you have to say about this. The number one no-no for wedding guests happens to be make sure you RSVP.
Yeah, you can't just show up and not RSVP. There won't be a seat for you. There won't be a meal for you. I don't get why this concept is so hard. You either know you're going or you don't. You commit, you don't. You can't just show up.
Okay, I'm guilty yet again. You know, I keep it real on this show. So I see it, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to get to it. And then I'm so busy, okay, I'm going to get to it. And then I forget, but I'm still going to come.
Do you shoot them a text and say, hey, save me a seat? Do you just show up and stand because there's no seat?
Well, I mean, at the last minute, I'll give them a call. And that explains the attitude that they typically have when I do call.
I'm sure. And you're Guy Lambert, though, so they'd be like, let him in.
Not all the time. One of the other stories that I find so interesting, and I think this is so funny, a study conducted, apparently the way you eat your ice cream says a lot about who you are as a person. That's what I said. Dear God, what's this all about? So the study found that people who bite their ice cream are deemed fearless, confident, and
psychotic?
impulsive.
Who is biting and chewing ice cream?
That's what I said. However, think about an ice cream sandwich, though. Is that still considered ice cream?
Okay, I see, because you really do have to bite an ice cream sandwich. But like, if you have an ice cream cone and you're taking bites and chewing it, I'm judging you. Soft serve does not need to be bit and chewed.
All right, so let's see if you judge this one. Those who lick their ice cream tend to be methodical and relaxed. What say you about that?
Yeah, I guess so, because, I'm more of like, The licking is like you don't have nowhere to go. You can take your time. So I can see why it's giving relax.
Last but not least happens to be the nibbler. In this case, anyone who nibbles their ice cream tends to be cautious, gentle, and thoughtful.
See, that's me.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. You know, there's an ice cream place right down the street from here, and sometimes when I get off, don't tell anybody, but I'll sneak over and grab an ice cream cone. That
What's your flavor?
birthday cake. Oh my gosh,
yeah, that
it is
sounds
so good. And I was thinking about it. Yeah, I lick it. Yeah, I mean, how else are you supposed to eat ice cream?
Do you skip too? I'm just asking.
Now you got jokes. And so I guess I am somewhat, as they say, comfortable and relaxed. So there you have it.
That's what's up.
All right.
I strive to be more comfortable and relaxed.
Hey, everybody, we all got to go on an ice cream trip. How
Yes,
about
for
that?
sure.
Diva Chef celebrating a birthday unlike any other. Happy birthday
Thank
to you.
you. It's a blessing to be here, you know, and celebrating, doing what I love to do.
Yeah. How cool is that? You're celebrating and working at the same time.
Yes,
Isn't that cool?
it is.
All right. Guys, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. This is the Fox 5 Live Zone. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Yet again, we're going to take you out to Seat Pleasant. Well, obviously, you can see right there on your screen, a tweet and or post from X, if you will, by Prince George's County Police Department. It all surrounds a shooting and a barricade situation in the 6400 block of Gregg Street in Seat Pleasant, Maryland. We've been covering this for quite some time, at least the past hour or hour and a half, if you will. Right now, details yet again remain sketchy. We do know that police yet again are still on the scene. Residents are being asked to shelter in place. Gregg Street is closed between Addison Road and MLK Jr. Highway as police continue to investigate yet again a shooting. Details still very sketchy, and we have been following this for the past, let's say, hour and a half. We do have a reporter en route and hope to get more information very shortly right here on the Live Zone. Well, when it comes to electric cars, let's think about electric car technology, shall we? In this case, the various systems that really power and enable these vehicles to move. I'm talking battery technology, electric motors, fuel cells, and charging infrastructure. Oh my gosh, it's so much to discuss. Hence, let's bring in one of the experts, if you will. I'm pleased to say that we're joined by Dr. Jamie Parker. He is a professor at Hostos Community College and kind enough to join us right here on the Live Zone. Dr. Parker, good to see you, sir, and welcome to the show.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure and truly an honor.
So let's jump right into this. I got to tell you, first and foremost, you're probably not going to like me. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm still somewhat skeptical when it comes to these electric cars, sir. I'm an old school type of guy. I like to press the gas, feel the car go, but I would argue to your point with regard to technology, oh my gosh, it is oh so better in these electric cars.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they have the way that you can look, auto stop features. It's amazing, and it's probably right that you can sense that something is off. Because if we sit here and think about the way that electric cars give off different sensors and different things like that with the electromagnetic field, it's no surprise that you may feel something. It can throw off the brain mechanisms, shorting the nerves, and things like that. So it's no surprise.
And so with that being said, should travelers really be concerned about the tech inside these cars, or have we now entered into the age where, hey, it's okay, everything's going to be all right?
I mean, it's important to be cautious. I mean, in exchange for the caution, we get more safety, right? So it's a twofold dichotomy that we just simply have to weigh out.
Yeah, you made mention of, let's say, the electricity that happens to be surrounding the car, if you will. They say there's no dumb question, but I got to tell you, I'm thinking twice about asking this. In this case, we know that, well, from time to time, both women and men have somewhat of a wig, if you will. And should they be concerned with static electricity when getting into the car and they have a wig with this thing?
Absolutely. I mean, static electricity, even when you turn your head, right, it can affect the brain. So the brain is really a neural mechanism that's part of the nervous system, and it can throw off the sodium potassium pump, affect dopamine levels, and if people aren't careful, it could really affect other parts of them that they may not be aware of.
So this is a real thing. You know, I wasn't joking, but obviously I was making fun of the question that I posed. But yet again, this is something that not necessarily be concerned about, but be well versed about. Is that the case?
Absolutely. I mean, there are some counteractive mechanisms that people can do. Things like grounding, like taking off your shoes and sitting in the soil at times, using anti-static or anti-friction mechanisms to try to reduce the static electricity, whether it's under the wig cap or even in the car, trying to use different grounding mechanisms, touching different metals, because we don't want this to truly affect anyone.
Wow. This is just truly amazing to me. It's all about energy, as I like to say. And with that being said, I can remember as a kid, we would go, let's say, from here to go visit my grandparents, here being in the Washington, D.C. area, all the way down to North Carolina. And probably after about 30 minutes, you know what I'm asking? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? And so I would assume that I'm not the only one, but kids seem to experience time different within a car versus, let's say, the adult that's driving. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So kids, because they're so young, let's say 5, for instance, they haven't absorbed a lot of time just yet. So because they haven't absorbed a lot of time, it's sort of, let's compare it to somebody with a lot of money. If somebody has a lot of money, they can absorb or gain money a lot easier, right? So kids with no time don't see time quickly because they can't get it. So it's a long process. Whereas somebody who's older, who's absorbed so much time, they see it as going quicker. It's sort of like force equals mass times acceleration. The bigger the mass, the bigger the mass, the easier it is to attract. So money begets money, time begets time. So if the kid has no time, they're not going to see time. They're going to see time moving slower. And so that's why they're always going to say, "Are we there yet?"
Wow, great analogy, by the way. As far as I'm concerned, I'm still trying to get to that money part. I'm still working on that.
No, I think you're almost there. And you mentioned North Carolina and D.C. and I think I know your cousin, L. Lambert. Actually.
Oh, you sure do. Well, how cool is that?
Yeah,
we can talk family live on TV. And so, with that being said,
exactly.
We'll end with this, and that is. I've always been curious with regard to alkaline water. You know, so many folks talk about it, and you see it in the store, and you say, well, is that something that's right? Is that something that I should venture into? But is there any truth behind it really benefiting you while traveling?
Absolutely. So sometimes when we travel, whether we're on a plane, whether we're in a car, we'll notice that we get a little anxious. We need to make sure our homeostatic mechanisms are in place. One of the ways we can do that is by drinking things that are close to our blood level as possible. So our blood level is typically 7.35 to 7.45 in pH. And what we want to have is water that's closely aligned with that. So alkaline water can really help with something like this. As opposed to other waters, if we put a litmus paper in there, it will sometimes show that it's a slightly acidic. We want something that's a little bit more basic to balance out where our body needs to be so we can operate efficiently.
Wow. Well, they say you learn something new every day, and by far, daggone it, I have definitely learned something new today. We've been speaking with Dr. Jamie Parker. He's a professor at Hostos Community College, kind enough to join us. Oh, by the way, you were published in the New York Health and Science today, and so congratulations on that, and we truly appreciate you joining us right here on the Live Zone, sir. Make it a great day.
You too. Thank you so much.
All right, guys, we'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. So this weekend, all eyes will focus on Baltimore. Yes, Charm City. Why? That's because the Preakness is set to get underway, and our own Taylor Grenda has a sneak preview.
I'm out at Pimlico previewing the 150th running of the Preakness Stakes, and it has been a beautiful day so far. A lot happening here, ongoing throughout today and even tomorrow. And I want to talk about everything about the Preakness Stakes happening tomorrow. So let's bring in Millie Ball, who is an analyst for horse racing, who's going to talk everything that everyone needs to know about the race. So Millie, thank you for joining us today. Let's talk a little bit about, who the favorites might be for the race.
Well, the official morning line favorite is Journalism, and I think rightfully so. He ran a really good second in the Kentucky Derby. Those horses usually get the hype coming in, but you've got to look at Bob Baffert's horse that drew the rail, Goal Oriented. He'll be probably the second favorite. And as the rain comes down here, we've got also Steve Asmussen's horse, Clever Again, who is 5-1 on the morning line.
And let's talk a little bit about, if I'm coming out here for the first time, I want to place a bet. Can you give any tips and tricks?
Yeah, I would say that, if you're a first-time bettor, you can bet as small as 2-1, right? Or $2. That, like, for example, you take Steve Asmussen's horse. He's 5-1. You place a couple of dollars. If it wins, you get $10 and your $2 back. So, go small when you start out. Pick a name. Pick a horse that inspires you. Just throw a couple of bucks on.
And I mean, how much would you say put on your first bet?
I would say for a beginner, a couple of bucks. The heavier handicappers will go big. They're probably, $50, $100 to win on Journalism. You're going to get some back if he wins, but not a lot. So maybe look for a price. 15-1, for example, on Dwayne Lucas with American Promise.
All right, and I know you have all the knowledge behind everything behind horse racing. Who are your favorites?
Journalism, I believe, is the best horse in the race, and with a clean break, that's the key for him. With a clean break, I think he's the winner in here. Bob Baffert and Dwayne Lucas. The two of them together since 1980 have won a third of the Preakness Stakes. So you've got to look at those two from, from the human aspect of it. So those would be the horses. The outside horse, I think, clearly again, has impressed me very much since arriving here at Pimlico.
Thank you so much, Millie, and good luck tomorrow. All right, back to you guys in the studio.
Oh my gosh, I cannot wait. Yet again, taking place tomorrow in Baltimore. Hey, we'll take a quick break. On the flip side of that break, Sylvia, our digital content producer, joins us next, right here on the Live Zone. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Looky who's here. Sylvia, our digital content producer, with all things we are following for you right here on Fox 5. It is Friday.
Yes, that is the day that everybody looks forward to. We've made it.
Yes.
Yes.
And we're almost at the end of the show. That's why I'm even more excited. All right. So several things we're following. This
Yes.
first one I did not know until you just told me.
Yes, so Savannah James, for those who are not aware, wife of NBA legend LeBron James, is actually teaming up with Howard University's College of Medicine for her new skincare line that recently launched called Reframe. Now, Savannah detailed that, she actually has been working on this for about 2 years, and she's been strictly only using her products on her face for 2 years, like during the testing process of the skincare line launch. Now, what I really love about this is that Savannah also said that, her daughter Zuri recently told her, Mommy, I want to be like you when I grow up. And that really made her kind of think, what type of legacy am I leaving for my kids and my daughter? And it allowed her to step out of her comfort zone and kind of branch into this new venture.
You gotta believe in yourself if you're going to try out something.
Yes,
on yourself
100%, 100%.
Wow.
Yes. What I also love is that she mentioned that this just isn't a skincare line, but it's embracing cultural things, like different pop culture aspects. Like, she wants people to basically feel like they're having an experience when they're getting into Reframe and enjoying the products in this line.
And no better institution to team up with than, the Mecca, Howard University.
Yes,
That's really
I did
cool.
reach out to Howard, and we're waiting to hear back from them. But of course, we know that it's graduation time. School's getting into the summer session, so hopefully we will hear back and get more details on how Howard actually played a role in helping to curate this amazing line, Reframe.
I would argue the only thing folks over at Howard are thinking about right now is vacation.
Yes.
I'm done.
I can imagine. Those school years are very taxing, so I completely understand.
Speaking of DC, tonight
Yes.
our lady professional basketball team will reappear. We're talking about the Mystics.
Yes, the Washington Mystics are having their home opener tonight tonight, and they're going to be facing off with the Atlanta Dream. Now, you know, we have heard some things with the Mystics and their recent injuries. Their #1 draft pick, Georgia Amore, having that ACL injury that occurred during practice, and also another player having an injury in practice as well. So I'm really interested to see what the team is going to look like tonight. Are they going to bring their A game? Are we in a place to compete at a high level? Tip-off will be at 7 p.m. to this evening, and our very own Chad Ricardo will be covering it live.
That's a lucky
yes,
assignment.
Exactly. So we'll really get to know what is going on immediately. So be sure to tune into Fox 5 DC. Just so you know what's going on.
I got to tell you, I early on I did not watch women's basketball.
Yeah.
I do now.
Yeah.
And I would argue from a skill set standpoint,
Yes.
they are way better than the guys.
Oh, 100%. I mean, when I was actually playing basketball, I did prefer watching women's basketball because then there's the defense aspect of it. There's actually plays being run. When you're watching the NBA, you're really just watching for the dunks.
Yeah.
You're really just watching for the threes from half court. You know,
Yeah.
it's very salacious. It's not really the meat and the potatoes of like real basketball up and down the court, running that drills and things of that nature.
All right, we got about 1:30 left, but
Yeah.
I want to make sure we touch on none other than my favorite team,
Yes.
the Washington Commanders.
The Washington Commanders. Now, we know that they are officially going to have a Christmas game. It's going to be streaming on Netflix, you know, and everyone's really excited about it. But a lot of people are talking about who should be the halftime performer. We know Beyonce was the halftime performer for the Texans games last year, of course, because she is from Houston, Texas. So I feel like the performer for DC should be, you know, a DMV artist, a DC artist. I've seen some names being thrown out there. I think Wale should be in there somehow. Maybe even a Raheem Devon. And potentially Rare Essence in some type of way. You know, who doesn't know the DMV if you're not talking about Go-Go? Now, I don't know how these three entities could all come together, but I feel like that would be a pretty solid lineup.
I love all of those artists, and I know all of them.
Yes.
I do, but I'm just thinking on a national stage,
Yeah.
the NFL is going to want to bring in probably a bigger artist.
Yeah, but then do you think it should be someone that is from the area? Because I like what they did with Beyonce being, you know, from Houston, Texas.
Maybe they could be incorporated in it.
Got
And I'm down with that. But I'm just thinking the NFL, they're going to want to go
bigger
big.
artist.
Yeah.
Okay, another suggestion that I had. They're not necessarily DMV, but they are Virginia. Potentially like a Missy Elliott, a Timbaland, a Pharrell, maybe like a Missy and Friends situation. I mean, we know Missy knows how to shut down the stage, and I think that'd be a great way for her to grace the stage in a major way.
And you can't forget about Shabuzi.
Yeah.
Hailing.
There we go. I keep forgetting that Shabuzi could also be a huge part of this too. Okay, so maybe Shabuzi. Okay, we have a lot of options, as you can see. There's a lot of talent in the DMV.
We're going to talk about this all day long.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think. Hashtag Fox 5 Live Zone. Thank you, Sylvia.
Of course.
Hey guys, The Take coming up next, right here on Fox 5.